Hello friends, welcome to Programming Concepts. My name is Amit and this is part 75 of the ASP.NET Core MVC tutorial. In this video, we will learn what are log levels and how to configure them in ASP.NET Core. This is a continuation of part 74, logging via default logging providers in ASP.NET Core. So please watch it before proceeding to this one. I shared the link in the description. So, what are log levels? Log levels are used to categorize the severity or importance of log messages. What does this line mean? There are two important words in this definition, categorize and severity. If I talk about live applications, you can log messages when error occur. And this message is for sure is of high priority for the organization because there is some exception that occur and needs to be fixed, correct? You can also log messages when your application crash. This is a code red for your application and you have to look into it immediately. Another scenario is you want to track request. In our application, we want to track when a request arrives at the employee controller, when it sends the request to SQL, when SQL return output, how much data it sends, etc., etc. Do you think the severity of all these logs is the same? Absolutely not. We want to categorize them so that we can pick logs as per our need. And to overcome this scenario, Microsoft provides log levels, and ASP.NET Core supports several log levels, each representing a different level of severity. Let's quickly see what are the different log levels, or you can say different categories or different severity levels provided by Microsoft in ASP.NET Core application. The log levels available in ASP.NET Core in increasing order of severity are trace, the most detailed level of logging, used for very fine-grained information that is typically only valuable during debugging or diagnosing specific issues. Next is debug, used for debugging information during development and debugging activities. Debug logs provide more detailed information than trace logs, but are still not typically enabled in a production environment. Next is information, used to provide general information about the application's operation. It includes events or milestones that can be helpful in monitoring the application's behavior. Next is warning, used to indicate a potential problem or abnormal situation that may need attention. It suggests that something unexpected or undesired has occurred, but does not necessarily indicate an error. Next is error, used to report an error or an unexpected exception that occurred during the execution of the application. These logs indicate that something has gone wrong and may require attention to fix the issue. Next is critical, the highest level of severity, used to log critical errors that may result in the application's failure or loss of data. Critical logs are typically used to indicate several failures or conditions that require immediate attention. Finally, none represents no logging. When the log level is set to none, no log messages are generated or recorded. By configuring the log level, you can control which log messages are captured and stored based on their severity. This allows you to fine-tune the amount of type of information that is logged, depending on your needs and the deployment environment. Alright, enough theory. Let's see how to implement that in our application. Let's go to the Visual Studio. And this is the project which we are working with. Let's go to employee controller index method. We already injected logger dependency in this controller. Let's quickly display all types of logs which we discussed in the slide. Before that, let's type log level and go to its definition, and you can see we have same severity defined which we just discussed in our slide, starting from 0, which is trace, and ends with 6, which is none. Alright, let's implement all these logs. First one is a trace, so logger.logTrace. Let's say message will be trace. Then we have debug, logger.logDebug, debug. Then information, logger.loginformation, information. Then warning, logger.logWarning, warning. then error, logger.log error, error, and the last one is critical, logger.log critical, critical. See how simple it is. As we already injected dependency, all these logs should be printed on the console, right? Let's see if it works as expected. Let's run our application. If you search for our logs in the console, you can see we get all the logs printed except trace and debug. We have an information log, we have warning, error, and critical logs as well, but not trace and debug. Now, that is where the logging configuration comes into the picture. Let's go to Visual Studio once again, stop the application, and open the appsettings.json file. You can see we have a section logging in the appsettings.json file, and it has log level defined. If you look at default log level, it says information. And if you go to our slide once again, you can see severity of debug and trace is less than information. Because we define the default log level to information, our logger will generate logs with severity equal to or greater than information. Simple. Let's change it to trace. Another question that might comes to your mind is what default here means. It means any other namespace not defined in the log level category. Here you can see we have namespace Microsoft and Microsoft.hosting.lifetime. So apart from these two, everything else comes under the category of default. Simple, extremely simple. Let's run our application once again. And this time if we try to find our logs, you can see all logs printed starting from trace, and if you look at the debug output window, we have similar output. All these logs are printed because we select the log level severity trace, which also means all logs to be captured or printed whose severity is equal to or greater than trace. Simple, extremely simple. Next, let's take another example. You can see we have lots of information logs from Microsoft. Let's say we want logs with severity logs greater than or equal to warning. So just change it to warning instead of information. And now if you run, you will see we don't receive Microsoft logs with a severity lower than warning. And because we don't have any warning from Microsoft, we only get our custom logs. Let's take another super simple example. Let's quickly change the namespace of the employee controller. Let's append _test in the namespace. Let's go to the appsettings.json file. Because we only specified two more namespaces other than default, our new namespace still comes under the category of default. Let's use our newly created namespace. So proconcepts.controller_test, and let's set it to warning. So here we are trying to say logs within this namespace should display logs with severity higher than information. Alright, let's run our application and see the behavior. And as expected, we get logs starting from severity level warning. Simple. I covered a similar scenario multiple times just to make my point clear here. Next, let's move to another scenario. Right now, we are displaying similar logs for both console and debug. So the question is, can we control behavior in this different logging provider? Like setting different severity levels for console and then debug output window. And the answer is yes, as these are different logging providers. In the background, different code is written for them. We can also control log levels for these different providers. As of now, we are only covering debug and console, but going forward, we can add other logging providers, including third-party logging providers. In that case, having separate settings is really important. For example, if you are saving these logs in some file or database, or even viewer, you don't want to log unnecessary logs, correct? Let's see how to implement that. Let's go to appsettings.json file. Just like we have log level root, Now we want a log level for console, so just apply double quotes above the log level and you can see it. IntelliSense start giving you different options like console, debug, event log and event source. So just select console first, then within curly braces, again double quotes, and you can see we have multiple options here as well. We have to set log level. So let me just copy and paste the log level. On a similar note, copy and paste console setting as well and change the console to debug. Now let's say we want a trace in the console but severity error in debug. So let me just change it. Delete proconcepts.controller_text from all three settings. Also change namespace name in the employee controller. So as per this configuration within the console, we will get all our logs, but in debug, we will get logs with severity greater than equal to error. Let's run our application. And as expected, we are getting all the logs in console. And if you go to debug output window, we only have error and critical logs. Let's quickly cover our last example. Let's delete the console and debug setting. Now, as per our setting for logging, we are expecting all logs should be printed. Also, logs from Microsoft.hosting.lifetime should have a severity of at least a warning. Let me change a profile from the top and let's select development. And let's run our application once again. Now, it doesn't open our console window. And in debug output window, we have logs starting from information, not from trace. Also, we get logs from Microsoft.hosting.lifetime. Can you guess why? Let's go to the launch settings.json profile. And if you look at our development profile, its environment is set to development. And our application will not pick the appsetting.json file. Instead, it will pick appsettings.development.json. If you open this file, you can see the default log level is set to information and Microsoft.hosting.lifetime level is also set to information. So if you are getting different behavior while replicating this video, you might be running your application with the environment is set to development. Simple, extremely simple. So that's it from this video. Hope you like our content. If you have any queries related to the content of this video, do ask me in the comments. Till then, thanks for watching.